Yes, you heard me say that live stream. We've got some more live streams coming. That's one of the new features we have on the channel this year, and wanted to start it right out of the gate. In fact, the next live stream will be next week, more info to come, but right out of the gate, want to talk about how to study the Bible more effectively. Those of you who follow this channel, listen to me, know that I'm talking about all the time. How do we get into the Word? How do we study it? How do we know it? How do we make it a part of us? And sometimes I like reading a physical Bible. There's just something about holding it in my hands, but the tools available today that we're going to walk through in this show today, I think is going to blow you away. One of the tools I've been using for probably 25 years, as I think about it, is Logos Bible Software Study Program. And here is Scott Lindsey to talk about some new features. Scott, you and I go back 25 years doing conferences together, doing events together. And every year or two, you're like, all right, McDowell, there's some new feature that's incredible. You want to show me, and I have not seen it yet. It's on my computer, so people are going to get my live reaction to this, which is a part of the fun. But thanks for coming on. I'm really eager to dive in with you.
Hey, it's good to be here. Good to see you. You and I bumped into each other in an elevator in Indianapolis a couple months ago at a conference.
That's right.
I walked in and said, "What are you doing here?"
A women's conference, just for the record. We were both speaking for reasons we don't need to go into here, but keep going.
I think you and I were the only, well, there was one other male speaker there, but great event. Had my wife with me, so that's always special when you get to travel with the wife. But good to see you. And I think when we first started working together 25 years ago, I had more color, I think, here in the facial hair. So it's all gray now. As you're kind of, you're getting some grays up there.
We are. Well,
let's
do this, man.
I'm excited to show you this because I've been telling you for the last couple months, wait till you see what Logos has dropped into our new software. So they want to share the screen now. We'll jump into Logos and just kind of want to give the audience kind of an overview, if you will, of who we are, who is Logos. So we've been doing this now for going on 33 years. And Sean, a couple weeks ago, I celebrated my 28th year at Logos, which is crazy to think about.
That's amazing.
We're a couple million users now worldwide. We're about 350 employees, primarily here in Washington State. And the other number that's shocking, and that number will come into this presentation a little bit down the way, is 300,000 books now in the Logos format. So we have 300,000 commentaries, Bible dictionaries, theologies. I think we've got probably the largest digital theological library available. And the new version, though, is pretty fantastic. And there's two primary things that have changed at Logos. Number one is ease of use, because we have put AI into Logos. Now, Sean, you can imagine when we announced to our millions of users that we put AI into Logos, there was a lot of people that freaked out a little bit. So I love to clear the air and say that what we did not do was plug the internet into Logos. So I call this AI with guardrails because it's only pulling from real books, real commentaries, the Bible itself, and so on. I was working with a major ministry a couple of weeks ago, and someone said, Scott, I was using ChatGPT. I asked a question about James chapter 1. The answer that ChatGPT gave was wrong, and this person replied back, hey, this is wrong. And then ChatGPT said, you're right, this is wrong. So concern there, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Because listen, Sean, one of the goals of AI, which Logos is not doing, is trying to figure you out, trying to figure out the answer it knows you want to hear. So Logos isn't doing that. So we're only, again, confined to the books inside of the Logos format. So AI and Logos, I call it AI with guardrails. And then cost. Some of you watching, you might have wanted Logos way back in the day, and then you saw the price tag, you grabbed your chest, and you're like, wow, $1,000, $1,500, it could go higher than that. So we've now gone to subscription for as low as $10 a month. Now, the good news is, for those of you watching for the next couple weeks, we're going to give gifts. So The beard here, maybe for some, I'll be your theological Santa Claus, if you will, because we're going to give a free 2-month trial of the new logos and then another gift that's about $500. So we want to prove it to you that this version of logos is absolutely the most amazing version, but we wanted to finally bring the price down so that anybody could do better Bible study without costs being kind of prohibitive. So here we go. Let me jump into the new version of Logos. And what's great is when you sign up for your free trial, you're going to get Logos on all your devices. So Logos on your mobile device is unbelievable. The AI now is over on the mobile side of things as well. Now, as much as you can, though, try to use Logos on your desktop. So your laptop, your home computer, because that's where all the power is. But I'm telling you right now, Sean, what Logos does mobile is pretty shocking. So here we are. I've opened up Logos here on my Mac, but again, it works Windows, Mac, tablets, iPhone, Android. But here I am in the Logos app on my MacBook. Now, when you first open Logos, this is kind of what you're going to be looking at. You can create a prayer journal. You can create a reading plan. I love the fact that we're now front and center, have a little button here said, need some help. So what do you need help with? If you want to do some Hebrew study, maybe set up a prayer journal, you just type what you need help with, hit search, and we'll find videos and things like that. And then what would you like to do today? So if you want to do personal study, click that button. If you want to lead a Bible study, click that button. So I do want to point out that Logos is way more user-friendly than back in the day. You know, some of you might have looked at Logos years ago when it was user-hateful. It is now user-friendly because of a lot of hand-holding. So we'll help you really figure out how to use this tool. But let's go over to the left side of the screen, and I'm going to click the search button because this is where AI now shows up in Logos. Now, it shows up in multiple places, but this is the first place it shows up, and that's with searching. Now, when you open up search in Logos by simply, again, clicking the search button there, or on your mobile device, clicking search, you've got a lot of different search options. So notice up here, I've got all and Bible and books, and I'm just pointing out again, you've got all kinds of different ways to search Logos. So for example, if I click media and then type the word Rome and hit enter, well, guess what? Logos is looking for media, right? Pictures,
Makes
videos,
sense.
and things like that. So just make sure you're in the right search. Now, I'm going to focus on the Bible and books, okay? Now, Bible, notice if you have the new version of Logos, there's the little AI symbol. So we now call it smart searching. That's what AI fixes in Logos. It's very smart and it's very easy to use. You just simply type in what you want to search. So if I type in the word Trinity and hit enter, you know, old Logos might have had a problem with this because, as you and I both know, the word Trinity is not in the Bible. The doctrine is, the word itself is. So Logos goes, hey, we know what you're talking about. And here are all the passages of Scripture, Old and New Testament. There's Isaiah 48:6 and so on. But here's all the passages that show the doctrine of the Trinity. And notice too, Sean, this is new as of a couple weeks ago. We're going to give you a synopsis, even for the Bible, when you type in an idea, a doctrine, or something like that, okay? So I've got a cheat sheet, if you will, because I'm not a very fast typer, and I want to cover a lot of bases today. But I want to kind of paint a picture of the different ways you can now search the Bible with Logos AI. The first of which is what I call vaguely remembered. It's, you know, those passages, Sean, where you've got a couple words in your mind and you're like, yeah, I don't exactly remember where that passage is. So for example, run the race. You know, I think it's 1 Corinthians or 2nd. So I type run the race. There it is, 1 Corinthians 9:24-27. And as we read, do you not know that in a race all the runners run? That's the passage. But I want you to notice as I scroll down, Acts 20:24 here. Notice the word run is not in that passage. The word race is not in that passage, but finish my course is. So obviously that relates to the words that I type, run the race, okay? So that's my vaguely remembered. You know, where are those passages that speak into this, or I've got a couple words in my brain, but I can't remember exactly. Now, theology. We just did Trinity, but we now understand doctrine. So you can type general revelation or special revelation. You can even type 5 solas, and Logos knows what the 5 solas are, and we'll find the passages. So if I take this one, attributes of God, put it in here, Logos knows, with a synopsis, but here are all the passages of Scripture that show me the attributes of God by simply typing attributes of God. That would be a fantastic personal Bible study at the beginning of the year, is to do a study on the attributes of God.
Yeah.
Now, core ideas of the Bible. I could type spiritual warfare and get all the passages that speak into that. I want to show you this one, though, Sean, because this one blows me away. I want to find the verses where kings served the Lord but did not tear down the high places. Hit enter, and voila, there they are. I mean, that's quite an ask of the Bible. Where
That's
are the
nuanced,
passages?
yeah.
That's very nuanced.
Yeah.
But I want to show everybody this is the power of Logos AI wrapped around the Bible. How about apologetics? I want to see all the passages where Jesus is God. So I type that. And again, Old and New Testament, here are the passages to prove out Jesus is God. How about this one? What are Old Testament prophecies that Jesus fulfilled? So again, these are the things that you can type into Logos. So this is so much better than a concordance, because back in the day when you and I first started doing Bible studies with those big books called concordances, it wouldn't be able to find things like this. It would only look for a word that I was looking for, right?
Hey, so really quickly, you don't have to do this search right now, but could you break down like Jesus is God and say just the Gospel of John, or when Paul says Jesus is God, or Hebrews, or John the Baptist, or he personally claims to be God? Can you break it down that nuanced?
Yeah, here we go. Where does Paul say Jesus is God? Give it a couple seconds. AI, again, is doing a massive amount of work. There are the passages where Paul specifically says Jesus is God. I do this all the time, Sean. Let me show you, how about this one? Paul using the Old Testament in 1 Corinthians. I can be this specific. So again, here are all the times that the Apostle Paul references the Old Testament in his writing. So again, I'm glad you said that, because this is how specific you can be now, because Logos AI is wrapped around the Scripture.
Okay,
now,
do a quick one for me. I was just having a friendly debate with an Orthodox Jew, and he's like, Jesus never claimed to be the Messiah. I pointed towards John 4. But where does Jesus claim to be the Messiah? What passages come up? I'd love to see what it says.
Okay. Did Jesus claim to be the Messiah? I'm actually asking it as a question. You could state it as a statement, but here we go. Mark 14, Mark 26, John 4, Luke 22, Mark 8. Yes. But this is the power of AI, because AI is a language model. And so here was the problem with old Logos. If you didn't know how to build the query exactly the way that we stated you had to, and there were some that have Logos tattoos that figured that out, right?
Yeah.
But for most people, they couldn't figure that out. So that's the beauty of the new Logos, is you just ask the question the way that you would ask it, and Logos will go find it for you. Now, this one, Sean, I use all the time, verses like. So Romans 12:2 is the passage of renewing the mind, but I could say verses like John 3:16, verses like whatever you're studying. So when I hit in, I mean, this is a concordance on steroids, because Romans 12:2, again, renewing the mind, but look at Philippians 4:8 here. Whatever is true and honorable and just and pure and lovely, think about these things, obviously relating to the theology again in Romans 12:2. Now, counseling, Sean, I'll use this quite a bit. This is actually an example of a friend that confided in me that they're struggling with pornography. So I jumped in here and said, hey, my friend is struggling with pornography. How can I help him? Now, I'll use the same query and I'll swap words out. My wife is struggling with anxiety. How can I help her? My coworker is struggling with suicidal thoughts. How can I help him? So there's two things I'm asking with this question. So when I hit enter, Logos calls it out. It's sexual immorality, it's adultery. So, but notice, Sean, it says confessing sins to one another. Scroll down and I see iron sharpens iron, because again, I said, how can I help? So imagine again, Sean, having this in your back pocket when someone comes to you and needs help. The greatest thing you can give them is the truth of Scripture. And again, to be able to find specifically the Scripture. I just spoke to 6,000 or 7,000 Christian counselors in Nashville a couple months ago. And I got up there, Sean, and typed PTSD. And I said a little prayer because I was like, Logos, don't fail me now. I mean, because Logos has to understand what PTSD is, and then relate the idea to the Scripture. And Sean, it knocked it out of the park. Every counselor in the room was like, oh, this is absolutely incredible. So the seed I want to plant is, it's great for theology and digging into, passage, but it also can handle life's questions. It can handle counseling. One of the ones I love, I teach at a lot of marriage conferences, Sean. I'll go up there and say, my toddler is driving me crazy, hit enter, and here are the Scripture that you might need as a parent, right? Now you've got teenagers, so Sean, maybe Sean's going to type, my teenagers drive me crazy. But amazing that Logos now, because of AI wrapped around the Bible, can handle things like this. But we're going to make a little bit of a shift right now, and we're going to go now to books. So I can ask the same question. So I just want to make sure people are tracking.
This is all you went is the search function. And then at the top, you can go to the media like you showed. Earlier restricted it to the Bible. Now it's all the books in your library that you're searching contained. Got it. Keep going.
So I go to Bible when I specifically want to know passages of Scripture. Like the question you said, where did Jesus say he was the Messiah? But I'm wanting verses about that, right? I could still ask that same question, Sean, of my books where theologians might have addressed that same question. So I'm going to go back to where we started with what is the Trinity, but now I'm going to go to my books. And now when I hit enter, Sean, I want you to notice that now it's going to my library, okay? So I've got Baker Encyclopedia, Dr. Norm Geisler. I've got the Lexham Survey of Theology and other great resources. I've got Holman. So all I have to do, Sean, is click the link, and there's Holman. Click the link, there's Lexham. Click the link, there's Baker, okay? Now, what's really awesome is this little button here called Summarize. Now, I know Geisler's article from the Apologetics, Baker Encyclopedia Christian Apologetics, is a lengthy, I think it's 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. I can click Summarize, Sean, and just get the best of it. Now, if you have the time, read it all. But sometimes I don't have the time to read pages and pages and pages of information. So, Sean, I'll just go summarize, summarize, summarize. And I literally just read through 20 pages of content and got the best of it by clicking summary. Now, synopsis, though, is even better, because what we're doing in the synopsis feature is we're doing the homework for you. We're literally going and finding key articles, stitching them together, and citing them. So this is why I think Logos AI is the best option out there for theological questions. What does the Bible say? Because we're going to tell you exactly where we got the answer. And again, we're not connecting you to the internet. So you don't have to worry about some blogger that lives in his mom's basement that ChatGPT pulled that content from. This is real scholarship, real resources. So Sean, if I hit the little copy button right there, go to a word processor here and hit paste, everything's automatically cited. So if there are any students right now watching that, they're losing it right now, right? Because you got to do that for your papers.
As a prof, I'm losing it, man. Come on.
Right. No excuse anymore not to cite your sources. Now, here's the other thing. I'm not going to take the time, but you can actually tell Logos what your citation style needs to be. What does the Bible specifically say that I am so excited to share the world that dropped last month, okay? When I go to books and ask a question, any question, such as what is the Trinity? This is a monologue. It's question, answer. And sometimes it's all I need. I just need to know what is this thing that I need more information about, okay? But what we finally introduced in Logos is this feature right down here. Notice there's a new button, Sean, that you've probably not noticed in your Logos yet, called Study Assistant. So I'm going to press this button, Sean, and now we get to have a conversation with this idea, okay? So I got my answer. What is the Trinity? You know, Gerald Bray was one of my professors in seminary. We got Geisler. We got really good sources. But now, last year, and I'm going to continue it this year, I've been on a bit of a patristics kick. I've been reading a lot of Augustine, Irenaeus. And so I'm going to now ask Sean, what did Augustine say? Okay, so what did Augustine say? Now, notice, Sean, I don't need to restate the Trinity because I'm already in the conversation about the Trinity, right? So now when I hit enter, Logos is going to take the doctrine of the Trinity, but go to what Augustine said about that particular doctrine. So now I'm having a dialogue, not a monologue anymore, a literal dialogue with my theological library in Logos. So here we go. Augustine developed his. So here is what Augustine said. And I want you to notice the last line here, Sean. This search was constrained to results authored by. So it went to primary sources first, but notice what it asks here. Would you like me to search your entire library? So Sean, I'm going to say yes and hit enter, and it's still going to be what Augustine said, but now it's secondary sources. It's what scholars have said Augustine has said about the Trinity. So notice again, it's still talking about what Augustine said, but now I'm going to other resources in my library where, again, scholars have said, this is what he says. So again, and notice, Sean, the whole conversation is still here, okay? Now I'm going to get a little, I've got my definitions. Now I'm going to ask a question like, can we know love without the doctrine of the Trinity? Okay. So again, in the conversation, I'm going even further, another layer, another, angle. Can we know love without the doctrine of the Trinity? Done. Right. And again, everything is going to be cited. And I've read this multiple times. And basically, is we would not know love without the doctrine of the Trinity, right? It's a profound doctrine. I was talking with a buddy of mine in my Bible study recently. The doctrine of the Trinity is one of those doctrines that you could spend the rest of your life studying and nuancing out. For sure. So this is the new feature in Logos called Study Assistant. I'm going to close everything because I want everybody to notice.
Whoa, hang on. I was gonna. Can I ask you a search or something? Am I hijacking your presentation just for fun?
No, because I wanted to show, look at right here, Sean. This tool is so absolutely amazing in Logos that it now has its own button. I think people watching today, Sean, will open Logos and go straight to Study Assistant. So there it is, Study Assistant. And Sean, what I want you to notice now is I have all my conversations that I've started over the last couple of weeks since this has dropped.
Nice.
So you can have as many conversations as you want. So here we go, one click, and Sean, it just reloaded up the conversation that we had just started 5 minutes ago. Now, did you have another conversation, or do you want to start something totally different?
Just really quickly. Ask your books, which includes the patristics.
Yep.
What do the early church fathers say about the death of the apostles?
So that would be a different conversation, correct?
Oh, this is a whole separate, not based on the Trinity. This would be a beginning one.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take that because I don't want to retype what I typed. So notice, Sean, new. You see the new button? Okay?
Yep.
So here we go. I'm going to go new. And notice, Sean, we give you some ideas, because it's such a new tool. Like every day there's new, every time I click new, I've got some ideas like how does the heart relate to sin and theology, right? How can Christians find peace in life's winds of change, right? But you said, what do the early church fathers say about what?
The death of the apostles of
Um,
Jesus. You could throw Jesus in there. It'll probably know. Death of the apostles.
okay. What do the early church fathers say about the death of the apostles? Okay, here we
Yep.
go. So once we get an answer, I'm about to really blow your mind.
Okay.
Great answer. Okay. Tertullian, Origen, there
Yep.
we go. All cited, right?
Okay.
We could read in length what this says. But do you have another question with regards to this?
No, I'm geeking out because this is basically my dissertation. So this would have like saved me. I don't know how much hours this would have saved me clicking on those links, following it down. I literally could have done my research through this feature. I will come back to this. Now I'm kind of losing my mind a little bit, but keep
You're
going.
actually you're a little mad at me right now, right?
No, I used Logos originally and it was amazing, but this feature, just how quick synopsis, it cited all the right sources as far as I could tell, was pretty cool. All right, keep going.
So I texted you prior and said, hey, let's play with a couple questions in the new study assistant. So one of them is, how can a loving God send someone to hell? So again, I'm going to start a new conversation. I'm going to go in here. So this is a fantastic tool for apologetics, right? And again, Sean, study assistant's on your phone now. So the next time you open the iPhone app and Android, go to the More button and you're going to see study assistant. So here we go. How can a loving God send someone to hell? Hit enter. Logos is doing a massive amount of work reading for me hundreds, if not thousands of books to find this answer. And here we go. And again, if we had the time to read, Sean, I've been so blown away by the answers that Logos brings back. Geisler's in there twice. Obviously, he'd be a great source to pull from, right? But I want to show you something. Let's do one more question here. You asked or you texted me, and again, I'm going to go new because this is a new idea. How can Jesus be fully God and fully man? Okay. How can Jesus be fully God and fully man? Searching my books, again, a massive amount of work done in seconds. It's analyzing the results. And here we go with the answer from the Council of Chalcedon in 451 and so on and so forth. And it's all cited. But the thing give me one more question, Sean, because I wanna state something that you're getting again at $10 a month is our lowest level. Okay, so give me a question, our last one.
Like an apologetic question?
Any question. It could be a question about a text. It could be a question about a Greek or Hebrew word. It could be anything.
Oh gosh, now you're throwing a broad one on me. How do you explain the different genealogies in Luke and Matthew?
Whoops. Genealogies in Luke and Matthew. In Luke and Matthew.
And Matthew.
Oh, and spell it wrong, you're good too. So we're good. And then I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind because I kind of worked with Dr. Mike Lycona on the recent debate with Bart Ehrman. We jumped in the study assistant and the amount of work that Logos did. But yeah, and I do want to point out, you can misspell Matthew. You can misspell a Hebrew king, city. That's the power of AI is we're like, we got you. But this is a great answer on the difference in the genealogies. But give me one more question with regards to this. And I want to show you, Sean, when you start a conversation, look in the bottom left corner. There's two ways you can search. You can search your library. And over the years, Sean, you've amassed a pretty good sized Logos library. You've added commentaries and Bible dictionaries and so on and so forth. And at the new subscription level, which we'll close with, and everybody gets the free 60 days, we have to include a large library because we're not connecting you to the internet. So even at the $10 a month, you're getting a $3,000-$4,000 theological library. That's what we're pulling from. Okay, the pro level is an $8,000 library, and the max level is almost $12,000. Again, at $15. Okay, but notice, Sean, there is an option called all books. So give me one more question with regards to the first thing that we started with was the genealogies of Luke and Matthew. Do you have anything else that we could ask of this conversation?
Oh, so about the genealogies?
Yeah.
Or, oh gosh, I don't know what I would add to that. I was just trying to ask, how do we know they don't contradict? So you could
Okay.
like follow up something to that effect.
Yeah.
That's a
How do we
question
know
I
they
get.
don't
Contradict, yeah.
con? Okay, so here we go. But notice I've switched it, Sean, I'm going to switch it to all books.
Okay.
Okay. Sean, when I hit enter, we just gave you access to the 300,000 books and logos.
Mm.
Sean, if we went to logos.com right now, added into your shopping cart every book, 300,000 that Logos has, that you just now searched, and then we swiped your credit card, guess how much that would cost you?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's $8 million. It's
$8
$8
million.
million. So, Sean, when you switch it to all books, we just gave you access to an $8 million theological library. Now, here's the thing. I would recommend starting with your books first, because when I click these links, Sean, because it's my library, guess what? I own them. They'll open up on the screen. Does that make sense? Because it's my library. So the issue, though, with all books, which is great that I get to search an $8 million theological library for my questions. Sometimes, though, Sean, when I click one of these, I don't own it. It's $34. But to be able to still search it and get the summary of that and pull from that content, that's massive.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. That makes sense.
So that's why I think you should start doing a conversation in Logos with your books, because all the citations you'll have full access to when you open and want to read further. But when you switch it to all books, so for you, for research, maybe a next book you're writing on, the fact that you get to search an $8 million library to figure stuff out is unbelievable, right? Now, I also want to show you that Logos also has a web app, okay? Meaning that you can log into a web browser. You could be at a buddy's house, just log into your Logos, and there again, you now have Study Assistant. So I recently did a live stream with someone very well known, and we just jumped into the question he gets asked the most: why were the Gnostic Gospels left out of the Bible? So I want to just show you the conversation that we had. We asked the question, why were the Gnostic Gospels left out of the Bible? Great answer, right? Then I asked, what were the Gnostic Gospels? Great answer. Then I said, can you list them? Sean, boom, here's all the Gnostic Gospels, the Acts, the Notables, the Apocalypses, and so on. And then I said, Sean, which ones were most popular? Thomas, Philip, the Gospel of Mary, Da Vinci Code made pretty popular, right? I then asked, did the early church fathers quote them? Yes, but basically to say they were heretical, right? So there we go. And then I said, what are some of the most bizarre stories in the Gnostic Gospels? Got a great answer. But then, Sean, look what you can do when you wrap up your conversation. I then asked, can you summarize this conversation for my men's Bible study? And Logos did that. So, Sean, you can say, give me 3 main points for Romans 8. Now, here's the thing. If you go in there, Sean, and say, give me a sermon for Galatians chapter 2, Logos will literally say, I'm not going to do that. What we will say is, we'll help you. We'll help you with themes and ideas and Greek word studies and so on. So we'll handhold and walk you through the process. But we've drawn the moral line in our AI, Sean, to say, no, we're not writing your paper. We're not going to write your sermon. We're not going to do your Bible study, but we'll provide the resources and help you structure it, right? So amazing that you can have.
I love that. Hey, let me just, so you don't have to do the search right now, but on the Gnostic Gospels, if I said, list the dates when all of them are believed to have been written, list every Gnostic Gospel that mentions the crucifixion of Jesus,
100%.
list, like everyone that mentions one of the apostles or their deaths, whatever, you could pull all of that out and it would tell you documented
100%.
sources.
And remember, Sean, you have a recent button now, so you can go back into any conversation and continue the conversation, continue to ask the questions. Just dig, right? And this is on your mobile device now. So this is the mic drop. Sean, every conference that I've spoke at in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, when they see this, I look into the room and the jaws are just like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
Oh
This
my
is what I've
gosh.
wanted. This is what I've wanted Logos to do for 30 years, right?
Th-
Um,
I have to echo that because I've used Logos for a long time and I have books behind me that I love. But to be able to find that information that quickly, document it, I mean, that's hours of work. That is hours of work that's pretty incredible.
right.
That feature,
I mean,
I don't know,
Sean, just the
I
other
could
day,
accuse you of maybe overstating stuff in your enthusiasm at time, but this is not one of them.
no, Sean, we know our families know each other. We vacation together and la la. You know, Michelle asked me to go get a thing of milk the other night, and I'm driving the Safeway, and I thought of a question that I wanted to continue, and I couldn't wait to get home, open up Logos, jump back into a conversation, and
Mm,
so this is just, and again, it's on your mobile device as well. So I didn't actually even need to go home. I could have just right on my mobile device, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't driving and having
mm,
my Logos in my hand.
sure.
So that's the new feature, Sean, called Study Assistant. You can have as many conversations as you want. You can rename a conversation because Logos gives it its name right out the gate. But maybe you want to kind of have, I could have
Yeah,
multiple
that makes sense.
conversations about the Trinity, but I want one to be called Augustine in the Trinity and one to be called this and so on and so forth. And you can also delete your conversations as well. Um, so I'm going to close it out because I'm going to show you now what Randy Alcorn has recently told me is his
Mm,
new favorite feature in all of Logos. Okay. So as we're moving down the major tools on the left-hand side of the screen here, Fact Book, as you know, is my favorite single tool in Logos.
uh-huh.
Okay. Study Assistant is my favorite new AI feature. Okay, because that's where I go have conversations about theology, about the Bible, and so on and so forth. But Factbook is where I go do study. So, for example, and I want to use this as an example because the new year was just a couple last week, and I know a lot of people watching Sean probably made a New Year's resolution. I'm going to read the Bible in 2026. Okay, and we know what's going to happen in March, Sean. They're going to hit Leviticus. I'm done, right? So I'm going to type Leviticus chapter 1 in Factbook, and we'll also type a topic. So you can type anything in here, Sean. You could type manuscripts, David, early church fathers, anything you want to know about. I kind of go to Factbook to do the study of that topic or passage, right? So I'm going to type Leviticus 1, hit enter. The amount of work, Sean, that Logos just did in 1 second for Leviticus 1 is mind boggling. It's about 50 hours worth of Bible
Mm,
study all done. Okay. So my Bible, there's my
mm-hmm,
commentaries.
mm-hmm,
This is new. There's my text. So I get to my
mm-hmm.
Hebrew text, Aramaic, Latin, but I'm going to skip that real quick because that's a new feature you're going to see here in a moment. But people, places, and things, biblical events. I mean, again, as we scroll through here, the amount of sermons that preachers have preached on Leviticus 1 and so on. So Factbook solves the problem for anyone, Sean, who says, I want to do more Bible study, but I don't have the time. If you only have 15 minutes a day, in Factbook, the amount of work you can do studying Romans 8, Leviticus 1, or David, or Esther, or whatever you want to study is amazing. Okay. Because we do the work, right? The most difficult part of Bible study, Sean, is just finding good source material to help you, right? It's the page flipping.
Mm-hmm.
It's hopefully not anymore after today, but you go out and Google and type in a passage or topic, and then you got to filter through the nonsense, right? So Factbook's your best friend for biblical studies, topical studies, theological studies. But this is the new feature, Sean. When I scroll down right below commentaries, and we all know commentaries are incredibly valuable, right?
I love them.
So I can go to New American. Hey, Sean, there's the Apologetics Study Bible. Little shout out to you there. Here's Tyndale, right? So there's all my scholarship, people that have spent their lives studying sometimes a book of the Bible, right? But here is the new section. It's called Questions to Ask. So this is what this solves, Sean. I think for you teaching, or anybody that's watching that preaches or teaches or leads Bible studies, this is going to be huge. But this mainly solves the problem for the person who said, I don't know the right questions to ask the text. And there's a lot of Christians, Sean, that think, do I really need to study Leviticus? Really? I mean, look we go up here and start reading the text, Sean. Aaron and priests and entrails and burnt offerings and
Right.
blood. And it's like, I don't know if this is applicable to me January 2026. Well, it is now, Sean, because when you get the questions to ask, and look at all the questions that Logos automatically populated for Leviticus chapter 1. What is a burnt offering? What's the purpose? Sean, look at this question. How does the burnt offering foreshadow Christ? So, Sean, this is what I do. I'm going to ask our development team, Sean, to just give Scott a button that opens every single one of these questions because they're all good. But here we go. What is that? About 12 questions based on Leviticus 1. What does sacrifice mean for believers today? What did other ancient cultures use burnt offerings? But here we go, back to the top, Sean. And here are the answers to these questions. What is a burnt offering? What's the purpose of the burnt offering? How does a burnt offering foreshadow Christ, right? So now I'm like, oh, this is why I need to know about Leviticus 1 and burnt offerings, because Christ, right? So here's the thing, Sean. Basically, this is Study Assistant in reverse. When you and I were in Study Assistant a few minutes ago, you were asking the question, or I was asking the question. We had a question. But now Logos is providing the good theological questions. So after I read this great answer on how does the burnt offering foreshadow Christ, notice, Sean, in the bottom right corner. If I click this button, Sean, it just took that question, put it over into Study Assistant, and now, Sean, I can go further with this idea that Christ is the better burnt offering, right? So what this is helping people, I mean, when I first got saved, Sean, someone wisely said, I mean, literally, I'd never owned a Bible. I went and bought a Bible the next day, Monday, and someone said, hey, just live in the Gospel of John. I said, oh, okay, so Gospel of John's what I lived in.
Sure.
Sean, the first chapter of John, there's a lot of theology that I had no clue was in the first 10, 12, 14 passages in John 1, right? Logos will pull those out for me, right? So you can automatically see questions being pulled out of the text. You can kick it over to Study Assistant and continue the conversation. Now, when I showed this to Randy Alcorn, Randy's well known for heaven and money. Those are kind of the two big things that Randy teaches a lot about, right? So he asked, hey, can I type in a topic? I said, okay, what topic? He said, well, let's see what Logo says about money. So now I'm going with a topic, Sean, right? So I'm going to click money. Again, now I'm going to Bible dictionaries, Erdman's, but notice again, Sean, questions to ask. Look at these questions. What is the Christian perspective on tithing? How did people use money in biblical times, right? What does the Bible say about wealth, right? I mean, Sean, I could have my own 1-hour Bible study about money now because Logos has provided good questions for me to think about, right? To dig into. Now, I did a live
hold
stream.
on, let me jump in here. So
Yeah.
my wife has Bible studies with some of her girlfriends regularly and is always looking for the right questions. They go through different Bibles.
Yeah.
So you can just say, we're studying Leviticus, and for each chapter, it has these questions. Let's read the chapter together. Let's talk about it. Then let's look at these questions. We try to answer them, see what we come up with, compare it, and then talk about that.
100%.
See what we learn. If you have further questions, you plug it in and it dialogues with you. So really, I'm not recommending people do this, but if you're like desperate for a Bible study in 2 minutes, where it's not doing the work for you, it's just arranging it, really you could use this either topically or chapters in the Bible, and you've got discussion really just like that.
Absolutely. It's interesting you said that, because when I showed this to Randy, he said, Scott, you know what's great about this feature? He said, have you ever, he said, you've been in a Bible study with a group of guys. I said, yeah, I'm actually in one Wednesday night. And he said, one of the greatest values of being in a room with other believers for a text or a topic is all the other questions they have that you never thought of. And he said that's what Logos is now doing automatically. So yes, it has incredible value to you, your wife, and the Bible study she's in. But again, personally, it's also given me questions to think about just for myself, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I did a live stream recently with Mr. Wes Huff, and we're talking about manuscripts and whatever. And someone in the comments, Sean, said, "Whoa, wait a second. What is a manuscript?" We're like, "Oh,
That's
yeah,
fair.
okay." So again, I went into Factbook, typed in manuscript, and Sean, when we get down to the questions to ask, I could have an hour-long personal look at this. What are the Dead Sea Scrolls? What is textual criticism? How do manuscripts relate to biblical inerrancy? I mean, Sean, this is a personal study that I can literally have for the next hour. And I'm telling you, when I come out the back end of this, I'm going to have a very good understanding of what manuscripts are, right? And Sean,
cool.
this is on your phone. So everything we've done to this point is literally in your back pocket. Fact books in your back pocket. The new questions to ask is in your back pocket. Study assistant is in your back pocket. Searching the Bible in your books is in your back pocket. Okay. So this is the new Logos now. And this is AI, but I think it's AI done right because it's AI confined to scholarship. It's AI confined to a real library and not making stuff up. I gave the example of someone asking a question, got a wrong answer, and said, "This is wrong." Logos is only pulling from real resources, real scholarship. Now, I'm going to close this out because I love to kind of finish whenever we do a live stream, because kind of everything we've been doing to this point has been kind of about books, which for most of us, yay, right? Because I love books. I'm looking behind you and you've got a pretty large library there. But now imagine, Sean, you talking to the library behind you. That's what Study Assistant is, right? Like, I need to know about this. Where is this answer? But I want to show a great feature in Logos as we close, where we also want to visualize your studies because we do live in a visual culture. So there's a tool in Logos called Interactives, where there's hundreds of these in Logos, where we'll visualize
Scott,
your studies as well.
I'd
Yes,
like
sir.
to ask us to give me just a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick refresh of our software. It doesn't look bad, but it's a little hiccup, and my ADHD is acting up. So what I'm going to do is just both of you guys just sit tight. Give me 1 second, and I'll bring it back up. So just hold tight.
Okay. Ask me. I wanted to show you that one little mic. Yep. Just remind me. But again, one of the big goals in Logos is to also visualize your studies because we live in a visual culture. And I think actually, Sean, one of the ways to engage young people especially is you got to get their eyeballs involved in their Bible study, right? So we've got a lot of visualizations of the scripture, theology. And so I wanted to show you a few of those. And again, there's hundreds of these, but one of my favorites is this interactive called Bible Books Explore. So all you have to do is go to tools here, go to the very bottom, and there's the section called interactive media. Okay. But Bible Books Explorer is a great tool to kind of give you general information on all the books of the Bible. And notice the colors. Genesis is mainly blue. There we go. It's primarily narrative. Whereas Leviticus, notice it's kind of green and yellow. Again, there's your color coding, procedural, behavioral. So I can float my cursor and notice I get a little snapshot on the book. But if I click it, Notice I get my summary, right? Who wrote it, language, biblical eras. Now, everything in blue, Sean, if I clicked it, would go to fact book, right? So if I clicked on Moses, fact book will open and I'll get a questions to ask about Moses. I'm going to get all these great questions about Moses, right? So again, fact book is the best place to study in Logos, okay? But the best thing, Sean, well, timeline's pretty cool. We'll show you the age of the book. So if you scroll, through the New Testament, so there we go. But intertext is a great lens that allows you to see how the Old and New Testament talk to each other. So if I float here on Romans, we're now showing you the Old Testament book cited in the book of Romans, whereas if I float on an Old Testament book, any one of these, such as Psalms, we're now showing you that Psalms is cited in these New Testament books. Now, we're giving you the visualization, but if you click on any book in the Bible that you see in the circle there, what we'll now do, I just clicked on Psalms. This is the proof. This is where Psalms is cited in the New Testament, right? Now, before and after is another great interactive where we'll take you to key archaeological discoveries. So you pick where you want to go. Let's go to Jerusalem. Again, Sean, everything on the left there with all this great information on Jerusalem, everything in blue, if you click it, will go to fact book, right? So if I don't know who this Herod guy is, or what is a Jebusite there, or who is, where is Syria, click it. It'll automatically go to fact book, and then you can do your study. Ancient inscriptions. This is amazing, where we'll take you kind of on a tour through amazing archaeological discoveries that kind of prove out issues. As we both know, the Bible's never been proven wrong, right? So here's some amazing, the Tel Dan Stele is this engraved stone that literally has etched on it House of David, right? So this is a little tour through some of these great inscription discoveries over the years. But again, that's what interactives is. It's about visualizing your studies, visualizing the Bible, visualizing archaeology, and things like that. But I meant to show you in closing, and then we'll give everybody, how do I get this free trial? This is amazing. I can't wait to start 2026 with this tool. I'm going to go back to study. Actually, I'm going to go back to the web app, because that's where I want to just make sure everybody understands that you also have the option and you're still there, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. I want to show you this query that we asked, and again, working with Dr. Lycona on this debate with Bart Ehrman. So this was the question that he asked in Dialogue 106, okay? And I spelled Justin wrong, Sean, apologize. Justin, but Logo says, I got you. I know what you're talking about. Justin Martyr references the memoirs of Peter. Is he referring to the Gospel of Mark or the Gospel of Peter, right? Great answer. Daryl Bach and others cited. But then Mike asked this question. What does Peter Pilhofer say? Now, Sean, notice the source that Logos pulled the answer from is a German book by Peter Pilhofer, because he's a German scholar, called Das Neue Testament und seine Welt, whatever. Sean, it answered my question from Peter Pilhofer from his German book. Does that make sense?
That's crazy. Yeah, totally.
That's crazy beyond crazies.
That's insane on
Sean,
so many levels.
it went and found the answer from a German book, brought it back to me in Study Assistant, translated it to English. Here you go. Okay.
Oh my
All
goodness.
right. So let's land the plane.
Wow.
Free 60-day trial, which I think the last time you and I did something, we gave a 30-day. So we don't typically do 60 days. So we're going to go 60-day free trial on the new Logos. So get your phones out, because we'll have some QR codes. But basically, you just got to get to logos.com/Sean. Now, there is a deadline, which I'm going to give here in a moment. But this is what all you need to do, either QR code or go to logos.com/Sean. Now, here are the three options. Premium, fantastic. I'm going to recommend Pro, mainly because the library difference is massive. You go from a $3,000 library to an $8,000 library. Now, Max is great. For many, I think it's overkill. You can do Greek and Hebrew study in Pro, Max would add the ability to do ancient languages, so Coptic, Syriac, Ugaritic, things like that. If I said those words to some and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Pro. Okay. Pro is our number one level. So again, you can do Greek and Hebrew. Biblical counseling is in here. Everything I did today is right there in the Pro level. Now, this is what you're getting in Pro. I mean, again, if you were to buy the books that you have access to do for Study Assistant and Fact Book and so on, you're going to spend over $8,000 to have this library. Okay, so that's what's inside of Pro. Now, here's the free course that we're going to give when you start your trial. It's Dr. Michael Heiser's How We Got the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. It's literally
Great.
Dr. Heiser on your screen teaching you about this. It's 9 hours. It's so good, Sean. This is a fantastic course, our free gift. Even if you don't continue with Logos, you still get to keep this as our gift, okay? Now, let me take you to the landing page. So again, notice at the top corner, logos.com/Sean, and all you have to do is pick your trial. Again, we're recommending Pro. That's what I demonstrated today, but maybe all you can swing is the $10 a month. Again, you're not going to pay anything for 2 months, but anyone is going to absolutely benefit you in your studies and so on. AI is in all three. So if you're wondering, is AI just in what? No, AI searching, study assistant in all three levels. And again, as soon as you decide on one of these, we'll add the Michael Heiser course as well. Now, here, one little other thing to say is if someone has old Logos, just make sure when you go to logos.com/Sean, just sign into your account up in the top right corner of the website, and your price actually could come down even further.
Oh, that's cool.
Because some people get credit for their old Logos, right? So I've actually had people, Sean, Pro was like $9 a month or something. So just make sure, again, if you have old Logos, sign into your account, and again, your price could be a little less. Now, here's the deadline. 2 weeks from today, so that's Monday, January 19th. The next day, Tuesday, so that would be the 20th. That's when the website goes bye-bye, okay? And again, we've never given a 60-day for any of the live streams that we've done, Sean. So we've doubled the what you get, the free gift of Dr. Heiser and so on. But again, make sure you do this by Monday, January 19th. Again, Logos Mobile is unbelievable. My phone's in my hand all the time now, but for studying the Bible and study assistant and so on and so forth. So you're going to love, again, Logos Mobile, because everything that I showed today literally is now in your back pocket. Now, little reminder. I had our marketing team do this for me personally, Sean. Hey, here's all my stream. And I'm making a point, right? I don't need 8 streaming services. Most of us don't need 9 different ways to watch a movie. Just get rid of one, and you can do fantastic Bible study now because of the new Logos AI, right? So let me close with Isaiah 48. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. And I got Isaiah 48:8 twice. Who cares? But any final comments, Sean, as you've seen what we've been working on since the last time you and I got together, but it's awesome.
Well, my mind is still stuck on that feature with the apostles, kind of going, are you kidding me? I can't believe you could do that search with AI. I mean, that took me years to study that. And the fact that it can come up that quickly blows me away. So awesome. You delivered. I can't wait to dive in and mess with this now on my own AI, the AI through Logos, and I hope folks will take advantage of it. This is super cool. And that Heiser course, by the way, 2 of my most popular videos are with Heiser, and I've got another one coming up. People keep watching stuff and thinking about it. What did you say? A 9-hour course for free. People keep that in itself is pretty amazing. So
and you know
stuff.
this, but
thanks for bringing it.
Maybe most people don't know it. Dr. Heiser was our in-house Hebrew scholar at Logos for 14 years. So our kids grew up together. He lived literally a mile from my house. Sad loss, obviously, losing Mike to cancer a few years back. But the amount of content that he produced before he stepped into glory is just absolutely mind-boggling. So you're going to see a lot of Heiser actually in Logos, because a lot of the articles that were written for Factbook and so on were written by Mike. But hey, thanks for putting this on. Again, you already said whenever I talk to Scott, he's excited about something Logos is doing, but I think he might have actually met my expectation. I'm telling you, that new study assistant Logos, it's shocking. I'm in it all the time now.
I love it. Good word, man. Thanks for coming. Thanks for bringing that to a lot of my viewers and listeners here. And folks, if you check it out, let me know. I would love to hear if you take advantage of this, and if it's helpful and what you get out of it would be